Hello, everybody. My name is DrNiggle, and welcome to the Church of Chonkwij podcast. I am joined this evening by Masami, OmegaConstruct, Zero Burn, and special musical guest star Kosen.
Hello.
We've had a great week. We were going to do this on Monday, but unforeseen circumstances let us push this back a little bit to Wednesday. So we're doing it today, and today was a great day. It was a good day. Happy Inauguration Day, everybody.
Happy Wednesday.
Yes. Happy
Yes.
Wednesday. It is a new day in America.
Yes.
It's a good day. It's a good time.
Hmm.
And it's a good time for the Antitrust Commission in the EU to start doing shit.
Yes.
That was a smooth-ass transmission, everybody.
Wait,
Transmission.
nice.
Anyway, EU Commission fines Valve and other game publishers for geo-blocking. If anybody likes to play games on Steam, you might know, don't use a VPN while you're playing games on Steam, because Steam really doesn't like that. And you can get not a VAC ban, but you can get your account suspended for a little bit, or permanently, depending on how much of an asshole you are about it.
But thanks to the EU's stronger than the average government's consumer protection laws, that breaks antitrust rules. So yeah, Steam, Namco, Capcom, and a couple other names that are maybe a little less well known to the average gamer have been fined £7.8 million, and I'm not going to bother translating that into American dollars because it doesn't really matter.
You say some lesser known companies, but who here doesn't know Koch Media?
And actually, by pounds, I mean euros.
Yeah, 7.8 million euros, which is basically $1 billion US.
It basically boils down to, a fine that they can easily pay, but it's not really going to do much of anything, because I still think that, geo-blocking is the one major thing that these companies have in order to corner the game market as best as they can when it comes to the Americas, the European market, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, I can't really. I mean, it's great that the consumer protection is working in the other parts of the world. I just really can't see it doing much change, just because of how lax our the way how that we do things over here in America are.
Yeah, but the thought behind this, and we've seen this with other games as well. It's the thought of, and I mean in other industries entirely, of is it worth it for a company to make multiple versions of a product to satisfy strict laws in one large region and not in others, or is it just more efficient and worth it for them to just follow those rules? And that's what we're going to have to see, is whether or not things change across the board or just in Europe. And I mean, these fines are so small for billion-dollar companies, but they're not meant to be punitive. They're more meant to be like, hey, you broke the rules, better get your shit together, or there will be more fines in the future if you don't.
Yeah, exactly. This is predictive of this is setting a precedent. They can do this again and again and again now if people keep on dicking with them. But to go back to what you were saying, Omega, are we going to see, multiple versions of a game, or is it just going to be universal? The type of market that you're talking about there's only one in the world. It's essentially China. So unless you're making two separate games, one for China and one for the rest of the world, I tend to agree with your half of this, where video game companies are just going to be like, okay, fine, how can we make one product that we can sell in the USA and Europe?
I think the biggest it breaks down the fines. 6 million euros went to the 5 publishers, and then 1.6 million euro went to Valve, who chose not to cooperate with the commission in this whole investigation. Now, Valve, it makes me wonder whether this is about Valve as a publisher or as a storefront. Like, is this attacking the Steam store, or is this specific Valve games that they're being targeted for? Because if it is the Steam store, then the Steam store absolutely can have different rules for different regions, because that's literally just different settings based on your IP address, versus other companies that might have a different, rather than like an individual publisher that might have a more difficult time of doing it on their own. But
I'm guessing by the way that this is written that they are targeting the Steam storefront, because they do say Valve provides to video game publishers the technical means to activate and play games on Steam, and they do that through the Steam activation keys. That's how you redeem everything through Humble Bundle or stuff like that. So no, I don't think it's Valve games specifically. I think it's anything that's sold on the Steam storefront.
Well, that would make sense. I was about to say, when it comes down to it, Valve isn't really honestly publishing a lot of games as of recently.
Hey, Half-Life Alyx, didn't that win some shit award, and Valve got to suck its own dick for a little while? Steam Awards 2020.
Yeah, same thing with Counter-Strike Go, but I mean,
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's
the labor of love game.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So,
what it is. We all make fun of that.
it seems like what the companies were trying to prevent was people buying games in countries where the games are cheaper and then playing them in countries where the games are more expensive.
Yeah.
That's usually what this is about. So they don't want people buying Steam keys from a website in,
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong or, some other random place in Russia or whatever. So it seems like that's what they were trying to do, whereas the EU rules are basically like, nope, you can't do that. That's against the rules. So, yeah. End of the day, these fines are small. Who knows whether or not the country or the companies will comply? But I am just enjoying seeing some government somewhere finally, at least,
it to them.
not even so much that, just attempting to get with the times, so to speak, to use a cliche phrase. I mean, that's one thing that's hugely lacking in America is representatives and legislations and government actions that show that the government has some actual understanding of the internet.
Well, I mean,
Because
when
the
it comes
American
to
government fucking doesn't, because everybody in the American government's 80 fucking years old.
yeah, well, when it comes down to it, when it comes to consumer protection, we are woefully behind in regards to consumer protection when it comes to the internet, when it comes to video games and consoles and all that, and that particular area of entertainment, if we want to call it that, or however we want to call it. There is a lot of shit that these video game companies can really get away with, and basically not only abuse their own internal staff and craft like that, but abuse us as consumers. And of course, we have the purchasing power to make them pay for it, but because they're literally the only competition out there, with all these with a lot of these bigger companies now buying out indie studios and crap like that, and then basically crunching them down to nothing, stealing or basically gutting them for their infrastructure and all that other kind of crap. That's it. Yeah.
It almost sounds like you're talking about how Microsoft is buying up all of these developers. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Behind the curtain.
Gotta wait to see what Bethesda comes out with this year, huh?
Oh god, I can't wait.
Might be good.
Might be good. Might be an absolute shit show like it has been in the past.
That's the problem. You know what? The problem is us, guys. We've been growing up playing these games. Now we're the adult gaming generation, and we're just too demanding. It's our fault that video games are so bad because we have such negative attitudes towards everything.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's not wrong.
I
mean, he's not wrong, but it's also there's a big problem with just having that particular type of, or there's a particular problem with video game companies having that particular attitude towards their customer base.
There's also a particular problem with most video game publishers being owned publicly and having, boards.
Fiduciary responsibility
to their stockholders. Yeah, that's an issue. But
I love it.
anyway.
All
Find
right.
some new
Yes.
stockings to wear.
So yeah, the EU Commission put out those fines for geo-blocking, and this will probably be a story that evolves as the year goes on, or it could just be completely dropped and buried, because I imagine Steam on the front of this. I noticed that most of the fines were reduced in this commission because some of these publishers decided to cooperate with the commission. As Omega pointed out a moment ago, Steam was not one of the ones that wanted to cooperate, so they got the full force of the fine.
Yeah, you think Steam gives a shit about $1.6 million? That's like a day worth of sales. Like, not even. That's minutes worth of sales.
The problem, the whole problem with that is, yeah, it's like the yearly salaries of like 4 or 5 of their lower end employees, but it's also company executives' bonuses that could have gone out. So Steam is really going to have to do some cost cutting and maybe cut back on the medical benefits of some of its employees or something like that to pay for that. But they're not going to worry about it. It's not.
No, they're just going to delay the development of Half-Life 3 a little bit more.
You just got to get those pre-order sales up, then they'll be fine.
Half-Life 3 confirmed? What?
Absolutely not. Goddamn not. No. It's never gonna fucking happen. Well, you get Half-Life Alyx and you like it.
I was about to say, Gabe has a giant fucking money vault, like Scrooge McDuck, that is filled with all of his, like, that's filled with all of his fucking money that he has ever made from both Steam, Half-Life, and everything else that Valve has produced. He has no reason to fucking like make Half-Life 3. He could just swim in all the money he has ever earned off of us and he's set for fucking life.
Yeah, he's
So
gonna
you
do
pay
that
this
Family
fine
Guy
with
thing.
petty cash, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna do that thing that Peter Griffin did in Family Guy, where he dives into the Scrooge McDuck vault and breaks all his bones. And says, "But God, it's more solid than liquid."
Oh, that's great.
Oh, poor Gabe. Speaking of poor people who are unjustly persecuted, Gutex finally responds to the PogChamp removal.
Oh my god, seriously?
Yeah,
Yes,
actually, this is kind of a
hilarious.
laugh. This is kind of a laugh if you go and you watch. I couldn't stomach his entire video because he's not a terribly bright individual. But he
I mean,
put out a half an hour video about
Most
why
Twitch
his ban is
streamers
total
are
bullshit.
not. I mean, no offense there, Zero.
I mean, he founded a media company, though. He's a young man with multi-million-dollar responsibilities. You know, you'd think that he would be a little more self-aware than he is, but he's not. He's a complete fucking idiot.
Mm-hmm.
So he put out a statement.
I mean, I'm an idiot, and I completely understand the fact that I am an idiot.
That's because you have a
Yeah.
level of
Yeah,
self-awareness that is so rare and special that we must nurture it and make sure it never goes out.
Yeah, that's half the room right here, if not all the room.
Yeah, no,
Of course we're idiots. We're happy.
that is completely and utterly fair.
Oh.
All right. Anyway, if anyone would like to summarize what this moron said in his video, that's my editorialization of the situation, by the way.
It basically, he more or less said, "Yeah, I said what I said, but I'm just a little guy. No one listens to what I said. Why does it matter?" And then he's like, "I didn't incite violence, so why did they do it?" Blah 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 blah. So he's just another dumb fucking QAnon fucking Trump head idiot who is dumb.
I'm not sure if he is a subscriber to QAnon, which would make him even stupider than I previously made him out to be. What caught me in this article, or what grabbed me in this article rather, is and quote, "It's not like," this is from Gutex, "it's not like Twitter isn't going through people's tweets with a fine-tooth comb to determine whether or not they're inciting violence. Am I right?" So first of all, when you have to ask people, "Am I right?" after a sentence, it's because you're not entirely certain that you are right, or you know that your argument is piss poor. Twitter probably is going through people's quotes with a fine-tooth comb, but they're using an algorithm to do this. We've covered this extensively on this podcast. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, these platforms that have hundreds of millions of people using them every single day, do not have the manpower. It is just physically not possible for people to review all of this. They rely on an algorithm to bring specific things to people's attention, and people make decisions as quickly as they possibly can so that they can move on. So somebody saw that quote ostensibly and thought, okay, well, maybe this isn't as big as some of the other stuff that's going on right now. That's something else you have to keep in mind, is relativity. Depending on what other people are saying on the internet today, you saying that Hitler has great ideas might not be as bad as people saying, let's go burn down the Capitol. So that sort of relativity is something to keep in mind when you're trying to make an argument like this. My point is that doesn't stand up. Then he went on to rhetorically ask, I'm not saying that I have the type of reach and influence that the president does. I'm just saying that I don't think it's a coincidence that my account got locked after what I posted. When I read that, I said that must be taken out of context. So I went and I listened to the video. It's not taken out of context. He just flat out says, I'm saying I don't think it's a coincidence that my account got locked after what I posted. It's not. You posted something fucking stupid. This is him saying, I don't think it's a coincidence that I went to a jail after I murdered those 3 people. No fucking shit.
Oh, God.
So the whole thing that he's getting at right now is that his Twitter account was locked, but it was locked because of posts that he made, I believe, in September of last year. With regards to hydrochloroquine that I'm not going to try to pronounce. The supposed COVID-19.
Hydrochloroquine.
Thank you. Yes, hydrochloroquine. Not supposedly, people were saying that if you remember, you take it and it cures COVID-19 essentially. There's absolutely no scientific data to back that up. He posted 3 tweets that were citing. I actually tried to go and look at the tweets. They've been removed not only by him, but by the account that originally posted them. So he makes mention that there's a PDF located somewhere in one of these tweets. I couldn't find it. I couldn't get after it, but he claims that it was, referenced. I find that very difficult to believe. When you reference something, typically it means that you found something in a peer-reviewed scientific journal, and it has the results of whatever is in the peer-reviewed journal have been verified by other people. That's the nature of peer review, and it is to be taken seriously. I don't believe for a second that anything related to hydrochloroquine was found in a peer-reviewed journal or had anything to do with helping with COVID. He went out, he made stupid posts that were ill-informed. He's not a medical professional. He tried to point people towards documentation, which is no longer available and might not have existed at all, and spread misinformation about COVID-19. So Twitter locked his account. The rest of this, the rest of the video, and the rest of this article is about how, Twitter locked his account for that. If what he said about the hashtag MAGA martyr had been so serious, they would have locked it again. So why is it that Twitter gets to make this decision to to get rid of the PogChamp thing and to penalize his channel however they have? The answer to that is really fucking obvious to anyone who has paid attention to conservative politics in the past 20 years. Citizens United made large companies people. They gave them the rights of people. Private companies have the same rights as people. They can manage their shit how they want to manage their shit. Twitch doesn't need some consensus to go through all of their subscribers' videos and delete the ones that ostensibly have copyrighted content attached to them. They just do it. So if you've got a problem with Twitch, fine. But hypothetically posing this question, what gives you the right, and thinking that that's a point to support your argument is fucking moronic.
Do you quote something I've seen on the internet? Freedom of speech does not mean freedom of fucking consequences.
Pretty much. So far, it doesn't seem like Twitch has any plans to reinstate Gutex as the face of PodChamps, but they do understand the emotes imports in the platform's culture, which is why they've been fucking it up ever since. But
Well, I mean, so one of my favorite Twitter and Twitch personalities, Critical Bard or Crit Bard,
Critical Bard, yep.
yeah, he got made PogChamp.
Yeah, we talked
Slightly
about
after.
it last week.
Yeah, it was like last week, and then like he got seriously dumped on by like a bunch of fucking internet racism. Like he got like
Well,
he got metaphorically pounded.
Well,
after
he's
he-
also got a history of internet racism.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we covered this last week, and the quote that kept on getting brought up, which is probably why he kept on getting the hate, was "white lives don't matter," or white lives don't matter because white lives are not a thing. So when you say that, it's great if he wants to go on later and make a video that elaborates on his point, but if his point was that white people don't face the same criticism as black people or brown people or Asian people or anything like that, fine, that's a valid criticism. If he wants to make the point that white lives, or you can be proud to be an African American, you can be proud to be Asian American, but you can't be proud to be white, because as soon as you're proud to be white, you are called a white supremacist. Again, that's a valid argument that you could go on to. I'm not saying I agree with any of it, but I can make an argument for it. But
right.
he didn't do any of that. All he did was say white lives don't matter.
Well,
So
expanded on his point.
revisionism is great.
No, he expanded on his point after that in the clip, and like the clip that was getting passed around was cut short. But he went on to basically say, like, you could be proud to be an Italian heritage or English heritage or French heritage, but like there's no such thing as white heritage. And black people had our culture stolen from us, and we've had to create it from nothing, which is why we have pride in it and stuff. And like, so like his point is sound, but he's just a fucking dumbass for saying white lives don't matter. What, like, it's just like he said stupid shit, and then he tried to like cry racism when he got called out for saying stupid shit, when he should have just said, I really did say something fucking stupid. But also, it's also more about the shit that he said on Twitter in the past, where he's criticized, like there was one tweet where he criticized a woman for her facial skin being lighter than the rest of her body, and made a joke about like reverse tanning and saying she was like who the fuck does that, and then like saying that racism against white people doesn't exist, and other sort of shit like that. So like, yeah, he says dumb shit, and some of it's borderline racist against white people, and it's just stupid. Like the whole situation is stupid, and I don't give a shit about the guy, and I certainly don't give a shit about anything that he does, or the controversy around this. But I just think it's hilarious that Twitch doesn't take that stuff into account, when literally the reason for this whole thing is that the face of the emote said something stupid, so they go and don't do basic due diligence on making sure that the next face of the emote didn't say stupid shit that is easily turned into a controversy. And that's
the other part of that is why it was considered stupid shit in the first place. The woman who died in the Capitol riot was the woman who tried to jump through the glass. Again, we covered this last week. She tried to jump through a barricaded doorway, which on the other side of it clearly had Capitol Police, clearly pointing guns. You can hear someone in the video saying, "Guns, guns, they've got guns, look out." She jumps through anyway, and she gets shot. She was in the middle of a riot. She was going into a guarded area. She knew that there were going to be consequences about this somewhere in the back of her mind. I'm sure she wasn't thinking about it, but she knew, she must have, just that survival instinct that a human being has. She must have known there's threat of death on the other side of this, ignored it, went through, died as a result. He called her a MAGA martyr, insinuating that, first of all, she is a Trump supporter. That's correct. Second of all, insinuating that she died for what she believed in, which again is, I believe, correct. Then you get into what is it that she believed in. Apparently, she believed in overthrowing legitimate election. So it was a riot. These people were domestic terrorists. They were traitors. I have no problem arguing any of those points with anyone who wants to meet me outside.
And Trump didn't pardon any of them.
No, actually, he said that anyone who used violence would be dealt with. Yeah, I loved how he shit on all the people afterwards in his little speech, and they still don't care because they're too stupid to understand.
Hey, Biden repealed a bunch of Trump's executive orders, but one that I didn't hear that he repealed is the 10-year minimum sentence for defacing and vandalizing federal property.
Yeah. So calling her a MAGA martyr is stupid. That is a fucking stupid thing to do, and it insinuates that what she was doing was actually right and actually just. A martyr is someone who dies for a cause which is just. That is why they're called a martyr and not a moron. So what Gutex said was completely wrong, in my opinion. And Twitter, if they want to throw him off, it's their prerogative, it's their platform, their company, they can do whatever they want. So yeah, the point is here, his rant is childish. It asks a whole bunch of questions which I believe he thought were meant to be thought-provoking. In reality, what they were illustrations of how he clearly does not understand how reality works. And the tweets that he has made subsequently about this situation and about people who have written articles based on what happened and how he got thrown off, the tweet replies from all of those have just been, some of them are people saying, you'll always be my, pog champ, or, like, rip brother, you're my favorite, you're the best. The rest of them are, Jesus Christ, how dumb are you? Like, why can you not understand this? I thought that you were actually an intelligent person. How can you be this dumb? So that's the end, hopefully the end of the Gutex story, and we're never going to have to talk to him again. He's basically nobody at this point. He runs a tiny media company that isn't doing badly. It just really isn't going anywhere. And nobody's going to be using his face on Twitch anymore. So that's the end of Gutex, I hope.
I mean, if we're being honest, the end of Gutex was probably a couple of years ago. I don't think anybody gives a shit about him or has, and the small community that he had following him can suck it.
Actually, this is the most attention that Gutex has gotten for 5 years.
Yeah, no doubt.
Ever since he started up his private media company, which I'm not going to say the name of because I don't care.
But, yep, so hopefully from now on we'll just get a nice run of innocuous and pointless and stupid PogChamp emotes. And, yeah, I mean, who gives a shit?
No one. That's who.
The depths of my indifference are pretty much bottomless at this point.
There you go.
Yeah.
Make zero PogChamp. Let's hashtag that shit and get that going.
Well,
oh, hell yeah.
Yeah,
Zero.
you can be
Zero.
my PogChamp.
Take a picture of yourself doing the PogChamp face. I'll put it in my Discord.
Oh,
I will use that shit every day.
Oh, that may turn out badly. I don't know if I want that particular facial expression to ever be anywhere saved anywhere on the internet ever, because it could be completely done wrong. Hey, you know what? I'm okay with it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, what the hell is wrong with you? I was
It's
gonna say,
fine.
what are you
Zero,
stressing?
send us the picture. We'll edit the penis out of your mouth. It'll be fine.
That was exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna be like, we're gonna Photoshop dicks in your mouth, but
So the exact opposite of what you were going to say.
The exact opposite. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Take the dicks out.
He was gonna remove. See, Omega was gonna do the kind thing and remove the dicks. Kosen was going to be a dick and put the dicks in.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
But
Speaking of dicks,
hopefully putting a ribbon on a final little bow on Gutex and the PogChamp. We got some new Cyberpunk news, something we actually had a few week reprieve on after the initial shitstorm of the release. Things were quiet for a little while, and but hey, we got some new dirt coming out. apparently, some people on the dev team said that they knew the demos were lies. Project Red executives said that's bullshit. Everybody said no, it's pretty obvious they were lies, and now they're getting sued again.
Is that the order that it happened or did that it happened in, or did the CD Projekt Red co-founder come out with that statement and then everybody responded to it?
Yeah, they came out with a statement where they apologized again for how bad it was. They released a new roadmap and said that they're pushing back DLCs to focus on fixes. A few of the quotes: they underestimated the task of making it run on previous gen consoles. Blah 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 blah.
The quote that I pulled from that was that the CD Projekt Red co-founder actually said that the team really believed that they'd deliver in the final day 0 update for consoles. So he claims that the company was on track and that they were convinced that they were going to be able to deliver, a stable, playable product, and unfortunately that didn't happen. And he apologized for all of that, and that was the takeaway from that.
Yeah.
Then everybody started replying.
Yeah. Then a bunch
Bloomberg
of staff
first.
Yeah, a bunch of staff came out and said, but more than 20, according to an interview by Bloomberg's Jason Schreier. He interviewed more than 20 current and former CD Projekt staff who basically said that they knew that it wasn't going to be ready day one. They knew about the bugs. They weren't the surprise that the executive made it sound like in his apology tour. So, they're making it sound like this whole apology tour and it's all bullshit, just trying to save face and, try and salvage whatever PR they can out of this. And then they just turned around and were like, no, that's just bullshit. We knew.
So
we knew it was going to be bad.
Here's a question I have to ask. So they make this apology, promise this roadmap to get things fixed, talk about DLC and future plans for Cyberpunk 2077. And then, we get to, and then all these people come out with these receipts where they're basically like, yeah, no, this apology is utter bullshit. The executives had to have known that there was going to be this kind of response. I can't imagine that they haven't. I mean, they could empirically go back to every time that there have been previous apologies laid out like this by other companies, and then the subsequent employees coming out and being like, no, this is utter bullshit what it is that they're currently putting out here, and then the fallout that essentially occurs from that. They had to have known that this was going to be a thing. So why the fuck did they do it in the first place?
I mean, my only
self-delusion is the real thing.
Yeah, my only thought that could possibly explain it is that it's just an example of how detached the executives were from what's happening in the room with the devs. They're looking at money, they're looking at numbers, they're looking at sales targets. They're not actually looking at the fucking game. And so they're yelling down the ladder, get this shit out, get this shit out, get it out now. And they're not listening or caring when people say it's not ready, it's not ready. And maybe they interpreted the it's not ready as it's okay, we can fix it with a day one patch, it's okay, we'll fix it in the coming weeks, without realizing that what they were saying was no, it's literally not done yet.
I think
the other part
really
go ahead, Masami.
It's pretty much what it sounds like to me. It's coming down to bad middle management, the glue between the devs and the higher ups. Someone elaborated too much or did not communicate accurately either way, either when they're trying to tell the executives no, it's not done yet, and the executives are like, make it done, and then the middle management gets stuck in the middle. So I think there's probably going to be a lot of turnover there.
Yeah, there is also that there, and that's in larger companies, especially companies where employees are fearful of their higher ups. You'll notice a big pattern in the flow of communication between a company like that and just spitballing here, a communist government. What happens in both is that when a manager has a project to do and they're expected to provide updates and progress reports, what they tend to do is they send the progress reports of all the things that have gone, that are done, that have been done well, that are finished, that they're ready to move on. And so that's a packet that's probably a dozen pages long. Right next to that packet is another one that they could send, which is 200 pages long of all the shit that still needs to be done and which is still broken. They don't send both of those to the higher ups. If they do, the higher ups are not interested in the 200-page packet. They're interested in what's been done. So the whole thing here is that, yes, I believe that there is a detachment in reality and in whatever you want to call it, business etiquette or some bullshit, between the higher ups at CD Projekt Red and the managers who are in charge of the teams who are actually doing all the work. And the thing here is I don't know why the co-founder said what he said, but he must have actually believed what he said, because as Kosen pointed out, you can't be stupid enough to believe that everyone's just going to go along with you when you're lying, and their reputation is on the line as much as yours is. There's an inherent need for people who do a lot of work to tell the truth about what the work that they do.
Mhm.
And it just must have to be a detachment from reality, or it has to be that this guy knew about all the shit that was still meant to be done and everything like that, but he chose in his mind just not to focus on any of that and to focus only on the progress that had been made and how much closer, because I mean, especially if this is the guy who needs to go and talk to the shareholders and needs to go and talk to stockholders who are demanding progress reports, of course, he's going to frame this in his own mind as, let's talk about the good stuff. Let's not bring up all the other bad stuff that needs to happen. Let's, get in this frame of mind where I'm only talking about the positive, because that's what's going to, keep money invested in my shit.
Well, speaking of the shareholders, the second lawsuit that was expected has finally been filed. The first one was in Europe. The European shareholders filed a class action lawsuit. Now a second lawsuit has been filed in New York. So CD Projekt has said they plan on vigorously defending themselves against this lawsuit as well, but they also said it's substantially the same lawsuit that they're facing already, just in a different jurisdiction. So it's going to be interesting to see. We've seen some disastrous losses. I don't remember any where the developers got sued by their own investors for how disastrous it was. And it's, with all the stuff that we just talked about, it's going to be real interesting to see how they're going to defend themselves in court.
That is definitely true. Plus, EA has not fucked up this badly. EA is, I think we can somewhat universally agree that EA is probably one of the worst AAA gaming companies out there, producing, swill and bullshit. And even they have not screwed up this royally, and they have fucked up pretty bad.
Well, you know why, though? Because EA's fuck-ups gets them in trouble with regulatory agencies.
Mm-hmm.
What EA does is rake in fucking cash. So their investors are happy as clam. Their investors are just fine. So
Yeah.
EA's problems have always run them afoul of regulations, like we were talking at the top. They with their loot boxes and gambling, and with basically re-releasing the same, especially in their sports lines. EA Sports is all just fucking scams. So they've faced issues with consumer protection and regulations, but investors are making money. EA makes so much fucking money off of mainly card packs for their sports games.
Mm-hmm.
And they just rake it in hand over fist.
Whereas CD Projekt Red makes RPGs and occasionally charges for extra content. So they're pretty much, their profit is selling the game, and if the game doesn't work, well, that's a big fucking problem for your cash flow.
Exactly.
Rocky Road for Cyberpunk 2077 and CD Projekt Red.
Yeah, but you know what? I said it before, I'll say it again. 9 months from now, a year from now, the game's probably going to look fucking great.
Oh yeah, everyone will have
shit
forgotten
about people
this.
with PS4s or the Xbox One anymore. It's going to be, get with the times, losers. You got an old console, deal with it. And people from here on out, or from that point on out, are going to have a fun time playing it, and it's going to be a great game. And mark my words, 2021 comeback game of the year, or some bullshit awards that are going to give them bonus credit for fixing their fuck ups. Because I have no doubt that once it's actually done, it's going to be a fun game. But,
I mean, it's even in its current broken state, it's actually kind of a fun game. Like, Railjack was slightly more broken than what this is right now, but it's in the same rough wheelhouse as how when Railjack for Warframe came out was. But there's still issues, but it's still pretty fun.
Yeah, I know Kosen's been playing a lot of Cyberpunk 2077 in the past couple of weeks. Kosen, you want to talk about those sex scenes with VR, whatever the fuck her name is?
Well, let's see here. I've put in about 74 hours of gameplay through my first time through. The only character that I romanced was Pan Am, which was, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, she's fucking hot. I mean, just goddamn, mwah, chef's kiss. All in all, from my particular experience in the game, the most annoying thing that I had a problem with was literally I only ever had the game crash on me once, where it went basically blue screen and it rebooted my entire computer. I didn't lose anything, but that was only the one time that happened, and that only happened like close to the end game content that I was going through at the time. And then, but beyond that, it performed beautifully. And the most annoying thing was just the was not being able to, like, when certain things would bug out, like I couldn't climb a ladder, and no matter what I did, I couldn't climb a ladder until I triggered like a cutscene, or if I saved the game and then reloaded it, or if there was a certain item I just could not pick up. I mean, like, I could hover over it and it would give me the option to pick it up, and I couldn't pick it up, and then I would just have to save and reload the game. Or if I using the weird crafting system that Cyberpunk has, and you can break down items that you get, and I would attempt to break down items, and it would tell me that I would break down items, and I would get the items, like the components in my inventory, but the actual items wouldn't fucking disappear from my thing. Like little minor bugs like that, which is more annoying than anything else. Otherwise, the game just performed beautifully. It's gorgeous. The story's great. Everything else about it is great. I mean, even the unfinished parts, which I didn't even really run into those issues because I haven't done like a full top-down, full exploration of the game. It doesn't even really bother me, to be perfectly fair.
Never saw any cops spawning into walls or just randomly spawning right next to you?
No, I never had like, I have heard the horror stories.
Or did you behave yourself?
Oh, no, I definitely didn't behave myself. Fuck
Okay.
yeah. When it came to the cops, I mean, the cops and I never got along, but it's one of those things to where, like, all the horror stories I heard about the cop AI and all the other bullshit of just cops just randomly appearing behind you and crap like that, never had a problem with it.
All right, you can talk more about the butts now if you want.
The butts.
Paint me a verbal painting of the nudity in the game.
It's about as cheesy as it was in The Witcher 3 or The Witcher trilogy in general. When it comes to sex scenes in video games, they're always fucking awkward. I will have to say that it is definitely a bit more vivid. And it's not like fully X-rated. I mean, like, you can have your vajays and your peniles, but you don't get to see any action beyond just them flopping around.
Oh, there's no full penetration?
No full penetration. Sorry, Doc.
Oh, what the fuck? All right.
That would have probably bumped its rating up another level.
Yeah.
God damn.
But
You can
I mean,
absolutely go and hook up with hookers of your choice whenever you want and see the same exact cutscene over and over again if that makes you happy.
Boo! No,
I'm sure there will be a full penetration mod at some point.
Most
Okay, yeah,
likely.
we need hot coffee, cyberpunk version.
The sex stores are beautifully explicit, though. There's one particular one where you get a model with a strap on and everything like that, and there's just wall to wall sex toys. It would be your heaven.
Can you use a dildo as a weapon in game?
That'd be
Sadly,
amazing,
fucking
but no.
Okay, all right. So there's room for improvement, is what you're saying.
Oh, definitely.
I'm fairly certain someone's gonna create a mod where you could wield a dildo. That's because that sounds like something someone would do.
A robotic dildo.
Oh yeah, that'd be fucking awesome.
Technically, in the world of cyberpunk, there are such things as what is it? Midnight Lady is the female part one, and then I can't remember what the name of the cyber penis.
Mr. Stud.
Mr. Stud is the name of the cyber penis that exists in canon, but your character can't obviously equip them, sadly.
Terribly original. Speaking of terribly original, good cyberpunk. Is that about the extent of the news we've got? Second lawsuit disputes, all the rest of that. Yeah, okay. So speaking of penises, Apple versus Epic, the copyright or the antitrust suit that's going on in the United States has moved overseas. So we're just briefly mentioning this to let you know that Apple v Epic is still a thing and it's going on. The lawsuit is now also occurring in the UK. Same shtick. Epic is claiming that Apple is violating antitrust by policing exactly what it allows on its market. And I didn't read in this article whether or not Microsoft has gotten in on the game either. But for now, yeah, Apple v Epic is in full swing in the United States, and they have taken it overseas to the UK. So more updates on that as the year goes on.
Yeah, court date in the U.S. is going to be in May. So a couple of months from now, we'll actually have some real substance to talk about on this. And I, for one, am looking forward to it. It's going to be interesting.
Yep, that's it will definitely. I believe that it will be setting a precedent, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Hell,
But
one
yeah.
way or another, it'll be a precedent for sure.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the kind of precedent that it will set. There's a YouTuber that I am quite fond of. His name is Leonard. He's a copyright attorney, and he basically will go through and do discussions on copyright and other different types of legal things that are going on that are really interesting. And he actually talked a little bit about the Apple and Epic dust up that's currently going on. He's also got some other things that he's been kind of focusing on too. Like he did the contract violation between Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman versus Wizards of the Coast and crap like that. And so yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how this thing with Apple and Epic will go. I can't imagine either one of them capitulating to each other. I think it's actually going to come down to an actual drag out in court.
Look, if there's a way, if there's a way for them to capitulate and both make heaps of money, they'll do it. This has only ever been about money, and I'm under no illusions otherwise. But I don't think that that's likely. I think that, as Omega says, they're drawing lines in the sand.
No, well, I almost disagree that it's about money because Epic is the one company that has enough money to not give a shit about it.
Always need more.
I mean, that's a $17 billion company. So
not enough. More.
They're basically saying Apple and Google are at risk of losing a ton of money just from their cut off the top on all sales through the app stores. Well, Epic is, they definitely want more money, but, that extra money will help a small developer who's got a few apps on the App Store, I think probably a lot more than Epic needs to worry about it because Epic's money comes from volume. So they will definitely have more money if they win, but they're not going to be going broke if they lose. Whereas it's going to be a severe dip in revenue for Apple and Google if Epic wins. So I don't think either are going to back down. There's not really. I don't see there being a settlement in this case at all.
In other exciting legal news, Omega picked up on something this past week about Rockstar.
What are they up to?
Well, a lot of talk about GTA 6. A lot of people have been wanting it. A lot of people have been looking for it. Well, Rockstar employees have filed a patent for new driver AI mechanisms, and the patent didn't specifically mention GTA 6 in name, but the actual individuals who filed the patent are people who are on Rockstar's GTA team. So I think it's just perfectly common sense that they're not developing new AI for GTA 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty interesting. I mean, the article has a diagram along with it and whatnot, but doesn't really matter. I just like the story for the fact of like, hey, here's a legal filing that actually indicates that work is being done on GTA 6. Like it's coming, it's in the pipeline. They're working on it. New ideas are being made, and we might see some interesting, more natural NPC activity in the cars that you're driving around and mercilessly destroying and rampaging against, which is pretty awesome. They're looking to use this new AI to expand the numbers of NPC cars in the video game, make it more realistic. In the patent, they say like in conventional systems, the NPCs are often grouped by characteristics and perform the same motions. In fact, some NPCs in conventional systems fade out of existence as the player approaches the NPC. So it goes on to describe, the way that, like, if you've ever played GTA, you know that NPC drivers react incredibly late when they're about to collide. They have no idea how to deal with roadblocks or obstructions. They just kind of keep crashing into things.
Driving off of freeways.
And so they're looking to make more believable NPC navigation, more like just a better navigational AI, it's kind of cool. So like you'll see different behaviors whether cars are on a residential street versus city streets versus highways, whereas right now in GTA all the cars kind of move more or less the same regardless of where they are. And it's actually funny. Doc and I were playing GTA last night, and we were kind of talking about this. We were running the new heist, which I've run a bunch of times solo and made a shit ton of cash on it. And Doc and I ran it together, and it was annoying because every time that I've done it solo, it's predictable. The people that I need to kill, the patterns that they walk, where they are at any given time, I had it done almost to a science. And then Doc and I go in there together, and shit's different. Like, not necessarily majorly different, but just like this guy is on a different cycle or a different part of his rotation cycle, or this guy stops for his hold position at a slightly different point than he has in the past. And what I said to Doc was, like if it would be cool if they didn't do the same thing every time, if it was more natural and it didn't feel like the same puzzle every time. But if it's supposed to be the same puzzle every time, make it the same fucking puzzle every time so I can cheese the fuck out of it and make millions of dollars easily. So, on the one hand, like, hearing about new AI in an upcoming game is like, well, maybe we won't be able to cheese it as well, and some of the shenanigans that we get up to in GTA by abusing the AI, like, are fun, making the lemmings drive off a cliff. We might not be able to do that in the future, but if that's the new game where it is more natural, I'm looking forward to it. And GTA 5 is not going to go anywhere, so we can always go back and play Lemmings in there anytime we want. So I'm excited. I'm tentatively excited for like more natural, better driver AI in an upcoming GTA title.
No matter what they do with the new AI, we are going to find a way to cheese it.
exactly what I was gonna say. Is that this just opens up new or different shenanigans as opposed to the old shenanigans.
Oh, for sure.
I will
Oh,
say,
we found a new one last night. Omega and I found a new one last night. We need all of your help. We need all of you in GTA for a session.
okay,
Yes, yes. We need to get like a good 6 people in just for the
At
absurdity
least.
of it. We just with the 2 of us, we were able to make the game glitch pretty significantly. And
We found out how to do something that the game really does not like.
it's not even just that it doesn't like it, it's that it doesn't understand it. We made the game do something that the game's like, I don't know what the fuck to do right now, just here, and it just spits something stupid at us, and it was kind of hilarious. So we want to take it up a few notches for sure.
As long as they don't change the AI for the truck drivers, because those motherfuckers have to get wherever they need to get to as quickly as possible. Damn anything that is in their fucking way.
Hey, they get paid by the mile, not the hour.
Yeah, no, okay, that's true. Something that I've been observing in GTA ever since we noticed that happening. For people who don't play GTA with us, which is everyone who's not in this room, one of the things that we like to do is we like to go on a rampage on one of the bridges. It's the large suspension bridge, and the fun of that is that when you start shooting drivers and setting things on fire and blowing up cars and things, the truck drivers will just plow right through any obstacle that is in front of them, be it a burning car or a civilian or a cop. They'll just go straight through and they will keep on driving. That seems to be the case for all of the AI. All of the cars will do that if they can. The problem is mass. The trucks are the only things which have enough mass to plow through a wreckage field.
Yeah,
so I think that is inherent AI behavior.
They are powerful. Well, like we were saying, like, we were up on that building sniping shit and creating little roadblocks, and cars are just crashing right into the stopped cars, and bouncing off of them and driving through them regardless. So it's just the difference when a truck hits them; they just plow right on through and don't even slow down. So
I'm not gonna lie, that deeply intrigues me.
Yeah,
there's a lot of fun to be had.
We constantly find new shenanigans. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Love it.
I've got homing missiles, not homing missiles. I've got guided missiles on my submarine too. Pretty awesome.
Doc and I sounds fucking ridiculous.
You can launch 2 at the same time with one player. One player can launch. You need 2 players, and they can each launch a missile at the same time. So Doc and I were like chasing each other's missiles around. It was kind of fun.
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
It's hard to collide with something when you move the same speed as it, though.
Yeah, that was an issue.
I mean, that sounds completely fair.
But all right, let's. We covered GTA. We got a whole list of interesting game stories that we can just go through and do some quick hits on. About a fucking year ago, we talked about this Dwarf Fortress, an old ass game that has cult status among certain segments of the gaming population. Announced a while back that they were releasing a Steam version with a full graphical overhaul. And for those that don't know, the original Dwarf Fortress was entirely ASCII art. It looked like dog shit, but the game was so magnificently complex that the type of player who enjoys that game didn't care. But now they're releasing a Steam version that has actual graphics and looks like a video game instead of a massive multicolored text icons and shit all over a screen. And I'm kind of interested in dusting it back off again, but I already have RimWorld, so I'm not sure if I need to.
Well, that's the thing. So there are pictures included in this article. I brought this article up, and there's also a video displaying the UI. First of all, because it was all ASCII, the original Dwarf Fortress, having a mouse and having a user interface is bizarre, but because the Star Wars prequels are the king of memes, a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. And the graphics on this really do look like a mix between Stardew Valley and RimWorld. And you've got this sort of top-down, you've got great detail on everything. I mean, it looks, for a Dwarf Fortress game, considering what it was and what it is now to be remastered, it looks fucking gorgeous.
Well,
But
there have been graphic packs, like mods, user-made, like community-made graphics packs in the past, but this blows them out of the fucking water. Like,
yeah,
this
exactly.
looks like a video game.
Oh yeah.
So it looks beautiful, and the reason I put this on here was just because the mouse and user interface in a game like this is something we take it for granted in every single game that we play. Of course, there's a user interface. Of course, you can use your mouse, but for Dwarf Fortress, I mean, it's huge, and it's something so different, but it doesn't compromise the core of what the game is about and is always supposed to have been about, which is making a Dwarf Fortress.
You could almost call it game-changing.
Uh-huh.
I will
Sounds like
say
a
the one thing.
experience.
I will say the one thing this game has over RimWorld that I'm actually most intrigued about is Z levels.
Yes, three-dimensional, so you can build floors on top of floors. So you can have a multi-tiered building.
Personally, myself, the only way I will be satisfied with this game is if that they keep the AI just as stupid as they did in the original Dwarf Fortress. I want my fucking dwarves to be able to burn to death while they go and sleep in bed and basically catch my entire fortress on fire because they're that retarded.
You must love The Sims.
Well, what's actually really interesting is that the dev in this videos, he actually says that they haven't had a final artist take a pass on some of the views yet, so it's going to end up looking even better. But my understanding, Kosen, you should be happy, is this is purely a graphical overhaul, a graphical and UI overhaul. This is not changing the nuts and bolts of the game. It's the same game. It just looks and plays a hell of a lot better, and plays a lot more intuitively as a user. So, and that was always the hardest thing with Dwarf Fortress, was like figuring out how to play it. Not even the game itself being complex, but like the mechanics of how to play it, because you have to learn what all these text icons are, and you have to learn an interface that doesn't use mouse. And so like it's
Oh yeah, no doubt. I am completely aware of how complex this game is.
It's going to be more playable, but they should be as dumb as ever.
Awesome. There's nothing more enjoyable than dumb dwarves.
The only other thing that I'm waiting for on Dwarf Fortress is more news about modding, or the mod API that will be available in the game.
That's actually a good point. It makes me wonder how much the game has changed under the hood, because there are a billion mods out there for the game already. Yes. But that's for the original version. So I wonder if it'll be easy for them to be ported over. And you got to imagine that it would be like the developer knows that it would be stupid not to make them portable and not to make it easy to update the mods for this new version. So I certainly hope.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other thing. I mean, it could come out that all the mods that were made for the original Dwarf Fortress will have backwards compatibility with this version. That might be a thing if they haven't really changed too much under the hood, as Omega put it. That it could be completely doable if this is just a graphics and performance or a graphics and UI overhaul. But again, I'm waiting for news about that. I'm hopeful. The developer seems very in touch with the community that they're doing this for, and I have no doubt that they know about the mods and about how people have enjoyed many of the mods.
Well, if I remember correctly, the reason the developer decided to do this after years of saying he wasn't going to was basically that he's fallen on some hard times and he needs money. And if I remember correctly, I might be pulling this out of my ass. I hope I'm not. Family medical bills were part of the reason. Mm-hmm. So I wish him nothing but the best, and I am looking forward to whatever comes from it, and I will probably give it a shot. I mean, I can't imagine it's going to be expensive.
No.
We'll just have to wait and see for that. But
I'm going to guess about $10 on Steam.
Yeah, and that's right in the wheelhouse of what I expect as well. So we'll keep an eye out for updates, and I definitely think we're all into the idea of keeping tabs on what the new Dwarf Fortress is up to.
Oh yeah, definitely. My friend, one of my friends is a really huge fan of it, and he's the one that got me into it. I don't play it as often as he does, but it's probably the one thing that him and I actually get along the most on is just how much we love picking on the poor dwarves.
Yeah, but after RimWorld came out, I stopped playing it pretty much entirely. I mean, I started playing RimWorld in the early fucking alphas, so we're talking years and years and years at this point. So it'll be an interesting revisit for sure.
And the next thing that I put on this list, which I thought was great, getting back to media and entertainment, is Nicolas Cage's next movie, which is called Willy's Wonderland, and it will star Cage as a janitor tasked with cleaning up a decrepit fast food joint overridden with cursed animatronics. And if you're thinking to yourself that this sounds just like Five Nights at Freddy's, shut the fuck up.
Because it is Five
Because it
Nights at
absolutely
Freddy's.
is this a goddamn ripoff. And the reason that this is actually coming out right now, the movie was pitched. Let's see. The movie was pitched a couple years ago, actually, in 2017 or 2018, I want to say. But Five Nights at Freddy's, the Five Nights at Freddy's creator, Scott Cawthon, originally said back in 2015 that he wanted to make a movie based on Five Nights at Freddy's. He was having a lot of difficulty transferring the story of the game into a screenplay. And he was shopping around, and he was doing his due diligence, trying to find a good writer, trying to find a good screenplay. And it wasn't until 2018 that he said he's finally completed a script for this project. He is in November. No, sorry, it was 2018 where he said he had completed a script for the project, but he didn't like it, and he scrapped it and started over again. It wasn't until November of last year that he said he had finally completed something that he liked and that he thought was going to be really good and engaging for the Five Nights at Freddy's fans, and that filming would commence in spring of this year, 2021. So all the time while he was trying to perfect this as the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, somebody else came up with a story that was just legally disparate enough not to be sued, and filmed it, got Nicolas Cage to be the main character, and this film is coming out this year.
So who wants to do a watch party to watch this? Because I totally want to do that.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
This movie is going to be fucking cheesy as hell. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous, gory and violent, and I am here for it because Nicolas Cage is just a fucking maniac, and I love it when he gets involved in this kind of crap.
Everybody call this ripoff, whatever. Welcome to the movie industry.
Yep.
You can point to a million instances over the last decade, over many decades, of movie studio A announces an idea and movie studio B rushes out their version of the idea.
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole competition of who wore it better. It's like Armageddon or Deep
versus
Impact.
Deep Impact is the classic example of that. But every studio has done it. They've tried to snipe the hype of a new movie coming out and do it themselves. I don't give a shit about that. Doc and I actually just the other night had a long and hilarious conversation about Nicolas Cage and his insanity and absurdity. And not gonna lie, Five Nights at Freddy's guy with your actual Five Nights at Freddy's movie coming out, sorry, you don't got Nicolas Cage. I want to see the one with fucking Nicolas Cage in it.
100%.
So I am a bit of a lore nerd. I think we've established this numerous times.
Couple times.
What, you?
No, not me at all. Hats off to Matt, Pat, and the crew over at Game Theory. I
love those guys.
I have watched every episode of their Five Nights at Freddy's breakdowns. And if the way that is being described, the way that Scott Cawthon came to this script is actually true based off of what the theory is on Game Theory, is that he was trying to, Scott Cawthon, the reason why he scrapped the original screenplay was because there was no way to make the games come across as a decent movie. And then they started incorporating the books. Well, the stories within the books, yes, they mirror what's in the games, but it's got just enough meat to it that there can be a movie done about this. And I think that's because it wasn't until after the 6th book was announced, that's coming out early this year, that he decided, or that he came out and said, I have a script ready and this is what we're going to do. And we're moving forward. Blumhouse is taking it over, which I love any type of Blumhouse movie. They do some great films, but no, I agree with Omega 100% on this. You ain't got Nicolas Cage, and Nicolas Cage is the best part of every bad movie ever.
Like,
I don't he can do really good. I mean, good horror. I mean, what is it? Color Out in Space, based off of H.P. Lovecraft's Color Out of Space. That was really good.
Gonna go ahead.
I don't doubt that the actual Five Nights at Freddy's film is going to be a better story because it's made by the creator and the people who really know the lore and the story and all that. But like, this isn't a movie that needs a good story.
No,
it's just not. This is a movie that needs an actor like Nicolas Cage. That's what it needs. So, I'll probably end up watching both of them, but I know which one I'm more excited to see right now, and it's definitely the one that was slapdash thrown together starring Nicolas Cage, rather than the one that was meticulously put together over 5 or 6 years of indecision and having to make the perfect script and blah, 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 blah. No, fuck that. Show me Nicolas Cage in a weird fucking haunted goddamn fast food restaurant filled with demons and shit, and I'm happy. That's all I want.
No, I completely 100% agree with you. It's going to be fantastic.
It's basically Until Dawn, but no Selma Hayek, and all the vampires are animatronics.
Oh, I love that movie so much.
Yes.
I don't, but I recognize it for the glorious schlock that it is.
Well,
good lord. All right, so that's the Five Nights at Freddy ripoff. I mean, completely original horror movie with robots. Next on the list, we had Simpsons Hit and Run. Did anyone ever play Simpsons Hit and Run back in like 2003?
I played the shit out of it.
I think we both played the shit out of it in college. It's GTA set in the Simpsons world.
That's literally what it is. It's GTA in the Simpsons, and it's amazing. Well, because what was the later Simpsons movie that came after it? I forget the name of it, but the later one, you got out as your characters, and you went into buildings, and it actually had like a story, and it was more of like a 3D platformer style game. But Hit and Run is like all the driving and just driving around Springfield from different place to different place, and it was fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Yeah,
but anyway, Simpsons Hit and Run got a mod recently. Believe it or not, there is still a modding community for Simpsons Hit and Run. They're still going, and they finally just got a mod which stitches all the maps together. If you played the game and you remember, the game took place in 3 different locations over 4 acts, and you started off in the Simpsons neighborhood with the Simpsons house in Springfield Elementary, and Mr. Burns' mansion and all the rest of that. Then you moved on to, I think it was the industrial plant. It was Homer's deal. So the nuclear plant.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, actually, it was the shady side of town where Moe's was, and where comic book guys, the whatever his story, the android's dungeon. All those places, and then it moved on to the docks, sort of the Malibu section of Springfield, where you had the port and Professor Frank's laboratory and all the rest of that stuff. So these acts were separated with loading screens, and once you were in one act, you had that map. You couldn't go back to the other maps unless you reloaded the game or went back to another save. This makes it so that those 3 maps are all tied together. You can drive seamlessly from one to the other to the other. You can go all around and free roam, do whatever you want. So this is a mod for a 18-year-old game, and it's really nothing more than glorious nostalgia for a couple of us here. And I thought it was neat, so I slapped it on the map or on the list here.
Well, the modder is
cool.
also working on making an update to the campaign to take advantage of the new map, which is pretty cool. But, one unfortunate fact that I can't think of a single way to get around is that the game isn't available for purchase anymore, only secondhand, and copies can be kind of expensive. I sure don't know what I'm going to do if I want to play it again to try out this new mod.
It's a real mystery. That's a head scratcher. Where can you possibly get this game?
I don't know. Give me a second while I adjust my eye patch. Get my parrot on my shoulder.
Oh, just gotta go get my skull and crossbones flag. So yeah, by the way, a very, very special hello from all of us to a certain member in the Twitch chat right now. Hello, Fluffy.
It's Fluffy.
Greetings, Fluffy.
Fluffy.
But yeah, to go in completely opposite direction of an 18-year-old game, there's a new game coming out that I caught peek of that looks fucking amazing. Ninja Theory, the makers of Hellblade, they're making a psychological horror game called Project Mara. It's set in a single location, featuring a single character. It's set in a photorealistic apartment. And if you look at the game images that are being shared and some videos that they've put out, this shit looks beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And I don't really care too much to talk about the game or anything like that. I just threw this in here to talk about how fucking amazing it is that we're starting to see true photorealism in video games and where that's going to take us. That is super cool. Some of these pictures are amazing. And it talks about the measures they went through to create this, ultra close photography of every surface in the apartment, that they modeled it after LiDAR scans of the apartment. They've built their own procedural tools to create the apartment's materials and space and photorealistic details. This is an achievement of video game technology. And who knows whether or not our hardware, what type of hardware it's going to take to make it look like this, but I'm kind of hyped about it, just seeing the technology itself, regardless of the game.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean,
It is beautiful.
Fucking super fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, looking through they have a lot of promo fixtures of the kitchen in particular, because obviously kitchens have a lot of fixtures, have a lot of detail in a lot of their appliances, and they have photos basically of real life next to the game engine, and it is extremely difficult to tell which is which. If you were just to mix the pictures up and be like which is which, I don't think that most people would be able to do it.
And yeah, those are just still pictures, but even so, it's virtually indistinguishable.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got full screen, full res images, and you really went in it with a fine tooth comb, I'm sure you could find a pixel here or there. But damn, it looks good.
Yeah, definitely.
So Ninja Theory their artists have actually built procedural tools themselves to create this, in this case, the apartment's materials and space in photorealistic detail. So they are constructing new technology to do something like this. And as Omega says, yeah, where will this take us? I'm seeing this as another component to the popularization of virtual reality. I think that we're not we're not there to make VR very popular right now, not because of our ability to create a world for VR to be set into, where people will be like, wow, this looks gorgeous. It's our physical technology that is lacking at the moment. So once physical technology catches up to the game engines and the procedural tools that are being built, I think that VR is going to have a minor explosion. As soon as you don't have to wear a big bulky headset and you can just, slap on a pair of goggles or a pair of glasses, like prescription reading glasses, and be in VR, I think then we're going to see a big increase in VR popularity.
And you don't have to have a Facebook account to use it.
Yeah,
you,
also about
Oculus.
that.
Yeah, I was about to say, Ninja Theory actually has dabbled in VR technology. Both Hellblade's Sensua's Sacrifice and their Star Wars VR series, Vader Immortal, are basically their dips into VR games. There's also Nicodemus, Demon of Evanishment, that they also worked on too as well. So I mean, I could genuinely see this Project Mara being their jumping point for like an amazing an amazing development in VR gaming.
I mean, I almost get the vibe from this game that it's basically an extremely well developed tech demo. Like,
Sure.
this game is a starting point for them working on photorealism that may one day expand into an open world.
Well,
the whole game is in one apartment, so
I agree.
that makes it feel almost like a tech demo in the sense
Proof of concept.
Exactly. So yeah, this is going to definitely lead to a lot of big things.
And here's the thing, that's exactly how Warframe started off as well. Warframe was originally a character editor. All they wanted to do was test physics and be able to model characters inside of an environment. Hey, we're talking about Warframe finally.
Then Masami broke that barrier earlier.
Yeah,
Oh, shit. Okay, sorry.
I shoved myself right through it.
Nice. But yeah, that's how these giant projects that we have today often start very small. So I agree. This is a proof of concept, and this is sort of a debut of beautiful technology. And yeah, I am curious about where they take it. But Kosen brought up Senua's Sacrifice, which was also called Hellblade on Steam. Just an update on that. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is in development and coming out.
Yay!
So if you like that series about really fucking disturbing psychological horror, yep, that'll be coming out. Part 2 is coming out.
That's my bread and fucking butter.
The funny thing about Warframe, it started out as a character editor, and Fashion Frame is still the true end game, so it hasn't really changed that much. They've added a lot of shit, but it's still the same as it always was. Alright, fun little story I came across, a game that a couple of us played for a while, and then just fell off the radar. Looks like the makers of Ghost Recon Breakpoint are trying, like Ubisoft is trying to reignite interest in this game by doing a crossover event with Rainbow Six Siege. I don't really care. I just thought that was kind of interesting that they've actually built like a new campaign. They've been doing events in Breakpoint where there's this thing happening for a limited time and it's got a few story missions about it. But the next one's going to feature a lot of characters from Rainbow Six Siege.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've read that too. I mean, we haven't. Ubisoft tries to revive attention for Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I mean, is there any hope at this point? They abandoned seasons. They did the Terminator event, and then that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, it started up. They did the first season. It was horribly broken, and they said, "All right, we're gonna turn this off and fix it later," and they never did. The launch was so borked that it was like 75% off within a few months. Just trying to get people to buy it. It's
it's kind of a shame because like we had a lot of fun with it, but
That
we
was
had a
2
lot
in
of
a row.
we had a lot of fun with how it was broken in a lot of ways, and we were also, you know, terrible people in the game. Like,
Yeah, we were. We talked about it. We were basically terrorists.
like ostensibly the game is about you defending this island from the evil bad guys, but really all it turned into was us horrifically murdering all of these people in very creative and brutal ways. And yeah, we were quite literally terrorists. We were terrorizing people. We were driving through areas with fucking armored vehicles with full auto grenade launchers on them and just like doing drive-by grenade barrages on
Don't forget how the
people who
trucks
were
were
just doing
also
their job.
don't forget how the trucks were also stuffed with dead bodies that we put in there.
Oh yeah, that was the best part. That was the best part. You could pick up a dead guy, put him into a car. So we always had friends with us wherever we went.
There was also the time when we were literally hiding in a cave waiting for a drone to go over so that we could blow it up.
Yeah, that's another game where a lot of the damage done was economic. It's like how much, like the cost of a Predator drone. We looked that shit up. Those things are like hundreds of millions of dollars each.
Between 80 and $200 million, depending on what you want.
So we've certainly cost them billions of dollars in technology.
Easily, yeah.
It's kind of a shame. That game had a lot of potential, but once you got through the story, it was kind of like, all right, let's drive around and kill things. And quite frankly, GTA is more fun for that.
A little bit.
So
just a little bit.
It's kind of a shame. It was a lot of fun while it lasted, but like just all of the systems had better versions of those systems in other games. It's a looter shooter, but there are other games that are better looters. There are other games that are better shooters. There are games with better driving. There are games with better flying mechanics. There's better versions of all of the things that Breakpoint tried to do, and it was fun for a time, but then it really just kind of wasn't fun anymore.
Well, speaking of games that there are better versions of, and games that have mechanics in them that other games do better, the 5-year-old Prison Architect game announces a new expansion which will let prisoners grow pot and brew booze. I was big into Prison Architect when it came out. I had a lot of fun with that game. I created a prison that was great and had potential for really high reform rates, and treated my prisoners really well. And my prisoners just completely refused to cooperate and made life insanely difficult for me. So I scrapped all of that. I created a new prison, which was basically a living hell, where
Thunderdome.
That was indeed Thunderdome. There was a main area of the prison, which had all the offices, and it had the general cafeteria and the prison population. And that was what I used, just to sort people out, basically.
Right.
It had probably a capacity for maybe 50 prisoners. Built onto that were 2 enormous wings of solitary confinement with about 500 cells for people. And so if somebody came into the prison and they were just boring, and they had nothing going on or anything and didn't amuse me, they got permanent solitary confinement. For their entire sentence, they were locked in a very small room with a bed, a toilet, a shower, and that was it. And then across the street from all of that was the glory that was Thunderdome. You have a prisoner coming in who is volatile and tough and deadly, and has all these characteristics to them that just makes them insanely dangerous. Ship them off to Thunderdome, and what Thunderdome was is basically an outdoor ring. Attached to the outdoor ring were all the cells. They had no heating, they had no cooling, they had no running water. It was designed to make prisoners go insane. The shower room, again, that was off there was too small, had no heating, had only cold water. The cafeteria across from the shower, which was open, served no hot food. It was a gulag. It was the worst place imaginable, and it drove prisoners to break and start fights. And at that point, total lockdown of that side of the prison occurred, and I just watched people beat the shit out of each other, and it was glorious. And then Omega got me onto RimWorld.
Yeah, see, like, I used to play Prison Architect a little bit. Well, I got into it after I played RimWorld because in a lot of ways, Prison Architect is one of the progenitors of RimWorld. Early alpha RimWorld actually used a lot of the graphics from Prison Architect with permission from the developers. And it's the same sort of top-down management game, but RimWorld lets you micro. It lets you pick a colonist, tell them what to do. It lets you get really in-depth on the micro. You can't do that at all in Prison Architect. So whenever I play Prison Architect, I wish it was RimWorld. So what I used to do is I used to just watch Doc stream Thunderdome, and that was a blast. And then, RimWorld is really just the greatest fucking top-down God view colony simulator game I've ever fucking played. And I don't think I can go back. And while this expansion sounds really cool, making booze and growing pot sounds like some fun shenanigans for prisoners to get into and whatnot, but I don't know. You can make booze and grow pot in RimWorld too.
Yeah, and when you grow pot in RimWorld, especially with the hemp industry mod, it's glorious. You can make building materials out of hemp. You can make medicine out of hemp. You can make food out of hemp. You can build solar panels, advanced solar panels out of hemp. You can do your wiring with hemp. Instead of using up all your steel to build stuff, essentially you just grow hemp. You roll the buds into joints and make it into medicine and all the rest of that. And then you use the byproducts, the hemp fibers and the seeds, to make food or crafting materials or fabrics or any number of these things. Hemp nanosteel is actually pretty great and a wonderful alternative to plasteel. So I feel like it's neat that they're coming out with this, but ever since Omega got me into RimWorld, the applications of RimWorld are far beyond anything that you can do in Prison Architect, and you can do everything that Prison Architect has in RimWorld.
Yeah,
you can have a prison colony.
You can make Thunderdome in RimWorld.
Absolutely, you can.
You can make your prisoners so miserable that they break and beat the shit out of each other. That's all there for you. And you can give them a lot more interesting weapons than are available in in Prison Architect.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Awesome. I'm not gonna lie, that just sounds fascinating.
RimWorld is the greatest game, and I advocate it to anybody. And you were saying, Kosen, you like Dwarf Fortress.
Mm-hmm.
I really think you should give RimWorld a try because, RimWorld is the one thing that made me never go back to Dwarf Fortress and makes me even question whether I want to try the new version coming out, but I'm gonna. But it's that good of a game.
That's high praise. I like that.
Well, here's the thing. RimWorld is not a colony builder. It is not a game where you are set, to accomplish a certain set of goals and to have a colony so much. It's none of that. RimWorld was built as a story teller. It's a story generating game. There are game elements that revolve around that, but the core of the gameplay and why it's a game that Omega and I can play over and over again is because it is a story generator. So it's different each time. Pawns interacting with each other is different each time. The events that happen inspire other things. It's there an exponential number of things can happen in every game, and there's no way that everyone has experienced all of it.
No, and literally everything in the game is procedurally generated. And randomly chosen, and you can change the parameters of what gets chosen, and it is without a doubt one of the best mod supporting games ever that I've ever played.
That's the other thing. That's another good selling point for Kosen and Masami. There are a ton of mods in this game where you can just stuff it full of weeb shit.
That's true. That is very true.
Oh God.
I do it. I'm not gonna lie. I do it.
It is one of my top 5, if not top 3 games.
Legit.
I've got some 1,000-odd hours on Steam at least, but I played it for probably thousands more in pre-release before it ever hit Steam. and it has just been fantastic to watch it grow. Like, it's one of the few games that I bought into super early alpha. Like, there were, I was part of the community that was like putting in bug reports on Mantis back when that was a thing, and fucking going like, I legitimately helped that game grow, and so like it's great to see it still going strong and how much it has evolved and developed over the years. Like, I was in it before they had fucking pets and animals in it. Like, it was, it's just such a good game. It is any chaos that you want to get into, you can get into.
Awesome.
And then speaking of old stuff, well, RimWorld is old stuff that's still good. And still gets some updates from time to time, actually.
Right.
But old stuff that is gone and never coming back is Intel giving up on their Optane SSDs for consumer desktop PCs.
Yeah, this really caught me off guard when I saw it. There's a whole generation of motherboards.
Yeah, me not so much.
It really caught me off guard. There's a whole generation of motherboards, including the one that I got in my machine right now, that were sold on supporting Intel Optane memory. When I was working, writing esports gigs that were sponsored by Intel, one of the things they wanted us to push, I wrote ad copy, like promo copy, about Intel in an esports event that was targeted towards gamers, obviously. So like, they had dreams of using Optane memory in consumer desktops for gamers, talking about how fast it was, how great it was for gaming,
Right.
all that shit. And now they're announcing that they're just fucking dropping it. Like, they were literally pitching it as the best SSD option for gaming.
Right.
Higher, better performance, better responsiveness, and honestly, testing bore that out as correct. It was better. It was faster. It was a great product, but they just decided to discontinue it.
Well, just decided. I mean, this is the way the market went. Intel has had some pretty good ideas over the year. Optane was one of them, but they didn't focus exclusively on onboard memory, because it 5 years ago it was still kind of a toss up as to what consumers are going to prefer, what's going to be popular in the market years from then. So Intel Optane memory, yeah, sure, that was one thing that they had been developing for a while, and it was a good idea back then. The other thing that they developed was SATA 10. And I don't think that that's going to go anywhere. Again, there's a whole generation of motherboards. There's a series of chipsets that are designed to support SATA 10. And the input for that on a motherboard looks very similar to a SATA 6 or a SATA 3. Sorry. I keep on calling it SATA 10. It's SATA 10 gigabytes per second versus SATA 6 gigabytes per second, which is technically SATA 3. So it looks like a SATA connector, but it has two of them in a row, and then there's one special plug right next to it. So it's identifiable on motherboards. And mine actually, I have an Asus X99 Deluxe from way back in the day. It's got two SATA 10, or there was a special name for it, ports in it in anticipation of that technology being developed. However, the way that things have been working and the cycles that have been going around and around and around in the motherboard community or the technology community at large is that people don't really want hardware that they need a special space for off their motherboard and then they plug it into their motherboard. It's becoming more and more and more about what can you pack onto your motherboard so that you really only have this one thing that you need to install, and then you can put everything that you want onto it. That's why NVMe and M.2 have become so popular and so successful. It's because they are very small. You can put them directly onto the motherboard, and you don't really have to worry about wiring or external power or anything like that. It's the same thing with graphics cards. They've always been this way, where you plug them directly onto the motherboard. That's probably where the popularity started. So we're seeing a trend more and more and more where technology is being localized, if you want to say that. Just put everything on the motherboard, put everything that you possibly can onto the motherboard, and then that's your computer. As soon as they can work out a way to put a PSU onto a motherboard, I'm guessing that they probably will. That's the last big component. So them getting rid of Optane in that respect is surprising because it is onboard memory. It plugs directly into PCI Express. It's got great speeds. I don't know whether or not it can compete with NVMe, especially somebody put out a hard drive. It might have been PNY that put out a hard drive this week, or an NVMe this week, excuse me, that has 7,500 megabyte per second read speeds. So they are like,
what?
yeah, it's fucking insane. They're top of the market right now. I don't remember the company that put it out, but
Yeah, it's PNY.
yeah, it's PNY. Okay, yeah, it was this past week that they announced it. I'm not sure that Optane could compete with something like that, but the long and the short of this is, it doesn't surprise me that Optane went down the tubes because Optane hasn't been popular for a very long time. They were planning for it to be popular. It just didn't work out that way. So,
Well, what kind of happened is PCIe 4.0. It basically amped up the speeds of existing SSDs, and like you were saying, all the onboard options out there, all the M.2 options that you have out there right now, are cheaper and close enough to Optane speeds that it's not worth getting the extra, because that's not going to be your choke point in gaming. So, in this article, they talk about they're not totally getting rid of Optane technology altogether, but it's going to be moved over to mobile devices. They've made Optane Memory H20, which is a hybrid solution combining both NAND flash and Optane memory in the same module, while the Optane acts as a high-speed cache to speed up performance, but it's not going to be available for desktop. It's pretty much going to exclusively be for mobile. And I don't know. When I was learning about it to write my ad copy, it seemed like really interesting technology. It was less about the read and write speed, seemingly, as it was about acting as super fast cache, in that it could, the way they described it, Intel described it in their materials, was it would basically remember the things that you did the most and keep them cached to speed up the rates at which they were made available. So you wouldn't have to draw information from storage into memory to access it. It would intelligently learn what it needed to keep available at any given time. And so from that angle, I thought it was pretty fucking cool. But basically, speeds have gotten so fast that we don't fucking need it.
that just, maybe it has absolutely nothing to do with it, but it made me remember the processor fiasco that happened about 2 years ago, because Intel and AMD were both using a heuristic transistor positioning or something like that, where the processor essentially did the same thing. It learned what tasks you performed the most, and it kept the transistors fixed so that you could easily access that memory or that function super fast. And it turned out to be an enormous security breach where people could actually go into the raw data that your processor was sifting through, and they could recreate entire data structures or entire processes that you were working on in your computer, and that was the source
I
of
heard about
whatever
that. Yeah,
we talked about it a bunch on the podcast, because there was an argument going that, it's Intel's mess up and AMD is actually fine, and of course that turned out to be not true at all. So it just made me think of that, and whether or not the Optane technology was also potentially a security risk. But either way, it does not matter at this point. Omega's right. The technology that we have right now is so fast that we don't actually need that anymore.
Yep. Well, and speaking of new speedy fast SSDs, an old name in PC components is breaking into that market for the first time. MSI at CES last week announced that they are getting into the SSD market, and they're making PCIe 4.0 NVMe drives that can hit 7,000 megabit read speed and write at 6,900, which is kind of cool. I mean, I know it's not a huge deal, but I just think it's interesting that a company that is mostly known for things very different than that, motherboards
and
graphics
GPUs.
cards, yeah, they're getting into the SSD market with pretty high speed stuff. It's kind of cool. So I mainly like that just because if we get more brand names out there selling this shit, that means prices are going to go down.
What I would like, and that's a perfectly valid point, the more people that are making stuff, the better the competition, the more us as consumers win. We as consumers win. What I'd like to see them do, though, if they're getting into SSDs, I'd like to see them go for RAM, because I am fucking tired of Corsair.
Yeah.
They're a fine company, and they make good RAM. They make pretty much bad everything else, but they make good RAM. But they are kind of the top of the market right now. There are a lot of people making SSDs and NVMEs. There are a lot of different companies making those right now. There are also companies other than Corsair making RAM. I am perfectly aware. But
Corsair is the best on the market right at this moment in time when it comes to their RAM.
I mean,
unfortunately, that's true.
They're certainly the biggest and most dominant player in the market.
I'd like to see somebody give them a run for their money. So if MSI continues down this path, more power to them. If they want to make some banging M.2 and NVMEs, go for it. Get into RAM. Consider RAM as well.
Ramming speed!
Prepare for ramming speed!
Well, to wrap things up, we got some talk about the great GPU shortage 2020 and 2021. Both NVIDIA and AMD are addressing the extreme shortage of the RTX 30 line and the AMD RX 6800 line that are selling out the instant they show up. All of the original drops got scooped up by bots, and people selling them way over MSRP. So now they're saying NVIDIA is saying that supplies are going to remain lean through first quarter, and that's the fiscal quarter, which doesn't end until late April, which kind of sucks. But AMD is saying it's going to sell a lot more of its own reference cards on their own website in the first quarter at sticker prices instead of inflated prices, but doesn't say anything about any of the other companies that sell their boosted versions with better cooling solutions than AMD's stock reference cards. So anybody out there who's been waiting for their chance to buy a new GPU, you might have to wait a little while longer.
My advice, if you're looking to buy a brand new GPU, don't buy one of these.
But what if you want to play Cyberpunk?
For fuck's sake, I've got fucking my Christmas present to myself was a RTX 2060. Okay, it's a $300 card. I can play Cyberpunk all I want. I as much as I appreciate what NVIDIA does for the graphics market, and as much as I love seeing NVIDIA and AMD compete and drive prices down, NVIDIA's always been pricey. Their current gen has always been, $800, $900, $1,000 or more, and I've always been of the opinion that the performance increase is just not worth it. Goodbye, Kosen.
Computer decided to crash.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, he went full offline.
He can huddle up next to you. You can share a microphone.
Giggity.
Wearing a headset, so I mean that I don't mind being that close, but that might be sound weird.
You just do the thing where you put one cup over your ear and then you stretch the other cup over his ear, and your heads are right next to each other.
My poor headset would not survive that. Too much head there.
Oh, good times. All right. Anyway, yeah. So, good. There's a GPU shortage. I just attribute that to artificial scarcity, but that's just me. I'm a pessimist.
I will say, if you're looking for a nice budget-friendly option, NVIDIA has quietly launched the GeForce GT 1010 based on 2-year-old Pascal architecture. It's got a whopping 2 gigabytes of power behind it.
What about the cuticores? How many cuticores?
4.
That's not actually correct. Wait.
No, it's a little bit better than that. But this is a very lightweight, low power card. It just takes 30 watts TDP to run. So if anybody out there is looking to make a computer that can play Minesweeper, this is the graphics card for you. Really what it is, if you're looking to make a nice little media center, you can slap one of these bad boys in there and it'll be a good step above onboard graphics from a GPU or from a CPU. But yeah. Hey, welcome back, Kosen. The shortage of good GPUs is terrible, but hey, you can get a really shitty one. I wonder how many of these you could slap onto your machine and XLS and get them going.
Oh, SLI. Yeah, no, it doesn't say if this is SLI compatible or not, but that would be amazing if you could just get like a row of these. Like, wait, you can only can NVIDIA do an unlimited number of SLI? I know there's 2-way and there's 3-way, and they sell brackets for 3-way, but you can do 4-way. So why couldn't you get like 6 of these? Just have 6-way SLI, and then your 256 shader cores. Compared to the GT10 that had 384. Yeah, they can all work in unison to give you that perfect graphic experience so that you can play such resource-intensive games as Minesweeper and Spider Solitaire.
Well, hey, like you wire 6 of these together. That's 12 gigabytes. That's
No, SLI doesn't.
1080 Ti.
SLI doesn't share memory. Only shares storage power.
It does. It's fine. It'll work.
Oh,
wow. In the words of John Panette, stop it. I'm getting a chubby.
Yeah. Well, okay, this will give you even more of a chubby. The TDP of this card is 30 watts.
Yeah. Nice and lightweight.
That is efficient. It recommends that you have a PSU of at least 200 watts.
I mean, I'll put it this way: the card that it's replacing costs about $45.
Yeah.
So, if you're making a home theater, this is the card for you. If you're looking to play any video game made in the last 10 years, it's not really much to talk about.
You could run Warcraft on a potato, and this thing wouldn't even run that.
Yeah, right. No, it couldn't. I mean, it's 256 cores, cuticores. Somebody throw out a graphics card that they have.
580 XT.
That's at least 1,000 cuticores.
Jesus Christ.
In the memory, onboard memory, and all the rest of that. And as Omega said, it's 5-year-old Pascal technology or architecture. Mm-hmm. So this was a neat little thing that sort of came out that caught our attention.
Yeah, it's adorable.
It is.
And in case you're worried, this card will not be affected by the current graphics card shortage.
No, there will be ample stock for very obvious reasons.
I'm sure there will be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's part of their GT line, which is basically designed around simple 2D or 3D acceleration, providing additional display outputs, shit like that. It's calling it a GPU is almost generous.
Ouch, but fair.
And I think that's going to about wrap it up.
Leaving off on a small note.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's lovely to do a midweek podcast with all you guys. Glad everybody could make it. Glad all of you in chat could make it as well. Special thanks to our musical guest Kosen and to our surprise viewer Fluffy, the big fluffy pig.
The big fluffy pig.
And so, yeah, that about does it for the Church of Chonkwij. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and here's Zero to take you out.
All right, everybody. Thank you again for watching the podcast. I really appreciate everybody being here tonight. And streaming schedule this week is going to be erratic. I may or may not jump on it. Just depends. I'm getting back into the swing of things after spending a week being sick with I don't know what, because every test they ran came back negative.
Including the COVID test, which is a good thing.
Yes, including the COVID test. So I had my brain scrubbed and it came back negative.
No brains.
No brains. But no, the streaming schedule will be erratic. Just keep an eye on Twitter. If you are, if you want to catch me, look out on Twitter. Look out on various social medias, Instagram and such. We will be posting there. Until next Monday, the Church of Chonkwij will see you later. Remember, we do not support the wearing of pens.
No, we
Penis.
do not.
Penis.
Penis and penis again. And double the penis.